And today's lesson is going to be a little bit different because we actually finished all the lessons in the first topic. That means we're ready for the end of topic test. So every time we get to a big test, like the one that you're going to be taking on Thursday or Friday, Derby Day, we are going to give you a practice test. So the practice test is page 61 and 62 in your books. The good news, there's actually a lot of good news that comes with this. Good news number one, we're going to give you all class grades and work on your homework. Good news number two, we're going to give you the answers to all the questions before you leave today. Okay? And number three, there will be a YouTube video of all of the questions and how to set all of them up for you to be able to study over the next couple of days. Okay? So there's all kinds of good news. Here's the bad news. On the actual test, even though the questions will all be the same, the numbers will be different. So, as an example, for number one, it says split and then calculate each product. On your practice test, it says 625 times 34. On your actual test, it'll be something like 819 times 64. So the numbers will be different, the concept will be the same. Now, that being said, I've got a lot of students who are understanding, hopefully by now, the importance of marking your text and following all the directions. So for part A, on number one, it says what? Estimate and then calculate. So how many answers are there for number one? There's actually four. 2 for part A and 2 for part B. Okay? When we say estimate, normally when we're estimating, it's estimating to the largest. So this is 625. So what am I going to estimate to? 600. This is 34. So what am I going to estimate to? 30. Okay? So I'm going to estimate it by rounding the numbers to the nearest whole number based on what the place value is. So if it's the hundreds, the hundreds. If it's the tens, I'll estimate to the tens. If it's the thousands, I'll estimate to the thousands. Make sense? Okay. We have two directions I want you guys to change before we get started. The directions are for part on the back side. Go to page 62. For number 12, this is how they had set it up in the lessons with the whole product table or factor tables. You can do that with that all set up for you, or you can just use the page to make it easy for you. Okay? You do not have to do both. Or same thing on number 14. You can either do all three of these things, or you can just use the cake and rewrite it using distributor property. Okay? So this is again either or. So you can either do all three of those, or you can just do that. Any questions on what we are doing in class today? Yes. Okay, well, now your chance to leave. Yeah. We have 20 points. We have 6 homework assignments. 30 points. 30 plus 20 is 50. Passes worth 50. We're giving you basically all week to study, and we're giving you answers and showing you how to set everything up.
If y'all would close your mouth as much as you talk, you would know what's going on.
Okay, so here's the way the rest of the period is going to work. Because simulating a test, folders, you are allowed to use your Google Notes, math book, references. For the study, we are not the test, so you do that. If you finish all of the problems, we ask you to come to the center table. Here's the center table. Unless you're at the center table. Any questions on what we're doing? Okay, so we're going to be able to go over all 14 questions before you go. We're not going to be able to do the whole period. Until 10 o'clock, 20 minutes to solve the problems. Now, realize that the whole 20 minutes. Quickly, you should have all the answers. Any last question? Talk about that one for the safety. I pull the green down, and then I add the green inside. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Mrs. Stanley, have those. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. David. Why? What about 13? Huh? No, they're two different questions. Okay, go ahead and put up your testing forward. Start. Remember, it's on the videos, you can always go back and watch it. I'll tell you up front, this tends to be like one of the most watched videos of the entire year, which is a good thing. That means you're going back and rewatching them. Okay, estimate calculate. So I'm going to do 600 times 300. 6 times 13 gives me 18. And I've got 3 zeros. So it should be somewhere around 18,000. 625 times 34. 20, 8, 10, 24, 25, 0, 15, 6, 7, 18, 0, 5, 2, 11, 21,250. Is that close to 18,000?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually not a bad estimate. We're probably pretty good on that. Next one, 1,000 times 60. So 6 times 1 is a 6, and I've got 4 zeros. This will be somewhere around 60,000. 1,014 times 59 gives me 36. 9, 10, 11, 12. 9, 0, 20, carry 2, 7, 0, 5. Put them together. Gives me a 6, 2, 8, 9, 59, 59,826. Is that close to 60,000? That's really close. That was actually a really good one. That last two is fast. It says add or subtract, but they're both add. I just realized on the test that may mean you're doing a subtraction on all of them. Be careful. See, on this, I need to know when I'm adding, I have to add the common denominator. I need to multiply both these by 6, both those by 5. So it's going to give me 24 over 30 plus 5 over 30. Add those together and I get 29/30. Okay? 5.5. The way I prefer to do it, I like to pull the fractions out when I'm adding to do those first. You can turn that into a mixed number, and then you get a lot more changes to do. This one's times 2, this one's times 3. That gives me 3, 6, plus 4, 6, or 7, 6, which is 1 and 1, 6. Then I take the whole numbers. 1 plus 5 gives me 6. So 6 and 1, 6. Number 3, round each number to the nearest 100,000 and nearest million. We're actually doing two different ones. So to the nearest 100,000. 100,000 is this base. And you look at this one. So that would be 4,500,000. Going to the nearest million. Now I'm just looking at the 4. It's going to be 4 million. Okay? Nearest 100,000 means I need to look at that number because this is where I'm rounding. So that becomes 26,700,000. Then running to the nearest million means I'm looking at this number. I'm rounding here. That's going to be 27 million. Number 4, a square has a. I'm good. I'm good. Sorry. I just had a small panic attack. Got to switch video. A square has a side length of 6 inches. Those are drawn a rectangle with the same area as the square that has a perimeter less than 30 inches. If Leslie's rectangle is not a square, what are the dimensions of her rectangle? So this one expect will actually help you out a lot. So I know I've got a square with a side length of 6. And each side is 6 inches, correct? And I know that's the way it is on a square. If her rectangle has a perimeter less than 30, it has the same area. How do we find the area of a square? Many times width. So my area is 36 square inches. So I need to find a rectangle that would have the same area of 36, but it is a perimeter of less than 30. So I've got several options. The key now is I need to look at 36 and say what numbers will make 36 when I multiply. Yes. The area. They're asking both things. That's perimeter, but it also gave the area. So if one of these rectangles is not a square, what are the dimensions? Because the rectangle is the same area. It has to have that same area of 36. So my dimensions are different. Yes. 4 and 9. So I can do a quick sketch. If I did 4 and 9, what's my perimeter? 26. Is that less? No. 9 plus 4. 9 plus 4 is 13. Perimeter is like half the area, half the side. So that's going to be 13 plus times 2 is 26. What, is that less than 30?
Yes.
Does it still have an area of 36? Yeah. So would that rectangle work? Okay. So the rectangle is 4 inches by 9, or 4 inches by 9. Guys, I hear you hit that plot. That one's probably not going to be on the actual test. The actual test will actually start more within the concept review. Yes. It wouldn't be further exactly 30 asking less than 30. There were two parameters, same area but less than 30 for the perimeter. Okay, calculate the area. Area for a rectangle is length times width. I'm just multiplying. 5 times 7 gives me
35 feet.
35 square feet. Do not forget your units. 8 times 9 gives me 72 square feet. Again, do not forget your unit. Write a numerator or denominator in each statement to create an equivalent fraction. We haven't talked a whole lot about that, but how do I go from 8 to 32? Times 4. So guess what I'm using 3. Times 4. So it should be 12. How do I go from 3 to 27? Times 9. So we do 7 times 9 and I get 63. Okay, state whether each expression is equivalent to this. Explain the reasoning. So 5 times 17 times 2. This one will be yes. And my reasoning would just be associative property. I just changed the numbers I put together. Okay. This one, we did an add. The problem is this is all multiplying. So this is an improper use of distributive property. Okay. So this would actually be no.
Still not. So it is not.
Be correct. Use distributive law. Okay. And for this one, this would also be a yes. This one is actually a combination of commutative and associative property. Because they switch the order, but they also switch the grouping. So switching the order is commutative, switching my grouping is associative. Okay, here's where your actual test begins, guys. So the rest of that was kind of good to know review. This is what you really need to know for the test. So GCF of each pair, 18, 54. Divide those by 2 gives me 9 and 27. Divide those by 3 gives me 3 and 9. Divide those by 3 gives me 1 and 3. GCF is on the left. 9 times 2 gives me GCF of 18. Did you find the LCM if you needed to? Yes, I would just multiply 18 by 3 and I would get 54. But that one just says GCF. That may change slightly on the test. They ask for both because we know that both are easy to find if you're using the case. 36 and 84, I can divide those by 2, gives me 18 and 42. Divide those by 2, gives me 9 and 21. Divide those by 3, gives me a 3 and 7. So my GCF, 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12. Can I also find the LCM? Yes, I would just do 12 times 21. Yeah. I can't, because I've got 7 minutes left for the rest of the video. Okay, right, define factorization for each number. Did you say that I have to use exponential notation? No, if you want to, I would. You'll see when I do my answers, but the key is make sure you do it. So you got to start with your factor tree. Remember, if you go through your 2, 3, 5, 7 in order, it should make it easier. So that's 2 times 7. So 2 squared times 7. There's the actual prime factorization. Remember, this is your word, the factor tree. The prime factorization is rewritten as a multiplication set. 40. I'm going to do the 2 times 20. Gives me 2 times 10. Gives me 2 times 5. Now I'm done, so I've got 3 2s and a 5.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Number 10. This is 10. This is important. Number 10, are we going to ask them to do a model, or are they going to just be able to solve? Huh? Okay, so you don't have to draw a model if you want. But you don't, for the practice, you should have, but for the actual test, we're not going to make you draw a model. So this is just using our standard algorithm meaning. I'm going to keep, change, flip, become 16 over 5, or it's going to go 3 with 1 left over. We don't want to do that. Okay? That's what, again, we're going to keep, change, flip. I've got 1 reduction, gives me 3 halves, or 1 and 1 half. Okay? If we have time, I'll go back and do the models. I'm not going to waste the time right now because we got so more to go through. So Philip uses 22 cups of granola to make 1 batch of granola bars. How much granola does he need to make 2.5 batches? Okay, a big key in this. That word up to be telling you I am going to be multiplying. So it's 4 2/3 times 2 1/2. Step 1, we have to slam dunk on both of them. So we're going to slam dunk. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14 over 3. Don't change your denominator. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. This is straight up multiplying, so I do not do a key change flip. This is straight up multiplying. I do not key change flip. That is only for division. Now I'm just going to multiply. That becomes 1 and 7. Then 35 over 3. It's going to go 11 times the 2 left over. This is a word problem. So go to do this. 11 2/3 cups of granola. You have a full sentence answer anytime you see a word problem. Questions on page 1. Okay. Again, guys, the video will be up tonight. I'll make sure we post it. So I am not going to use the factor tables because I'm just going to use 8. So 8 and 12. I divide both those by 2. Gives me a 4 and a 6. I can divide those by 2. Gives me a 2 and a 3. I want to use the LCM, all of them. So I'm just going to do it for fun because the GCF is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 gives me an LCM of 24. 6 and 9. Divide both those by 3 gives me a 2 and a 3. So my GCF is 3. My LCM is all of them. 3 times 3 is 9 times 2 is 18. Then is a camp counselor. Cancer charges weekly activity for 40 campers. She plans to make fabric covered frames to each require 1/6 yard of fabric. The camp director gave her 6 2/3 yards of fabric limit for the project. Does Ling have enough fabric for her craft activity? So there's our question, and show your work. So there's actually a couple of different ways to do this. I could take the 40 times 1/6 to see how much I need, or I could divide the 6 2/3 by 40 to see if I get enough. So to me, it's going to be easier to do 40 times 1/6. See how much I would actually need to do the craft. So that gives me 1 reduction of 3 and 20. That's 20/3 or 6 2/3. Did the camp director give her enough? Yeah, in this case, yeah, just enough.
exactly.
Yes. Yes, you had exactly what you needed.
Then.
Remember that numbers will change on the test. Question will be the same. So going to be a name tag, but if you give it something, the numbers are different. It doesn't mean that they won't be the same. It could be. But chances are it's going to be either she won't have enough or she'll have too much. Yeah.
So if you're just straight up multiplying, you have to,
Remember, DJ Cook is only when we're dividing. Okay, yep, that's a common confusion, especially when you do both of them together. Okay, so for our last one, you can either do all of this or we just use the take and rewrite. So I'm going to do that. 18 and 28. And now you divide both those by 2, gives me a 9 and a 14. Can't go any further than that. So it didn't ask for GCF and LCM. Can't remember if the test does or not. If they did, I do know my GCF is 2, my LCM be 28 times 9, 72, 18, 25 would be 252. But technically, I don't think I need those. I'm just putting it up there in case we did put that on the test. Because we do like making sure you guys can do GCF and LCM. But your key is, rewriting a distributive property means I pull that common factor out. 2 times the quantity of what's on top.
9.
That's how we do the distributive property. Questions on your test? Yes. You don't have to, but if you wanted to double check it, you could. So I did check just to make sure. So I did 2 times 9 plus 2 times 14. And I would get 18 plus 28. Is that what I started with? Yeah. Then that's just a verification that I did it correctly. But are you required to? No, it just says write it in distributive property. No other questions? Okay. So since I do have like 2 minutes left, let's go back to that model that I skipped. Here we go. For number 10. For number 10, if I were to do my model, all I'm doing, I like the number line models, so I'm going to divide it into 4 on top. So I have 4, but how am I dividing it? Into 4s. So each of these is going to be divided into 4s. So I'm only going to label the first one just for time's sake. But realize everyone is 4, right? What is my divisor? 5 4. So for every 5 of those, I'm going to have 1 group. So how much do I get? There's 1 group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 2 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 3 groups. So I have 3, and then how much do I have left? 1 out of 5. It was 5 for every group. Make sense? Did I get the same number as actually calculating it? Yes. Okay, my second model, I have 2 divided by 4/3. So I again, for fractions, I kind of like the number line model best. So 0, 1, 2. I'm doing 2 wholes, but this one I'm dividing into 4/3, right? So I'm doing 1, 2, so 1/3, 2/3. But every 4 makes 1 group. So I have 1 whole group, and then I have 2 out of the next 4 that I'm doing. So 2 out of 4 becomes 1/2. Okay, guys, good luck. This will be your test on Thursday.